Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Fuze TV for April 26, 2020. Get ready because we're about to get started with a fun event that we're going to have for tonight. But before we do, I'd like to make an official disclaimer. No toilet paper was harmed in this filming, nor were any wasted. All of it will get used. So with that ridiculous disclaimer, let's welcome Clint Hendricks. As all the people applaud.
What's up, everybody? What's up?
As Clint comes out, Clint is our Fuze leader for Lumberton location. And we also have Elizabeth Groves.
She's got to be quiet. She doesn't have a mic.
Elizabeth Groves is our vertical Bladen Fuze volunteer coordinator, all the words that we can put in one sentence. So what we're going to have right here is your classic style of three-point shootout, right? Is that
yes.
Roughly the concept? We're going to have a three-point shootout between Elizabeth Groves and our man here, Clint Hendricks. So with this, what's going to happen is we have this TP3P. Is that a good term for it?
Yeah,
a TP3P?
Yeah.
A T3PO, yes. A TP3P or a T3PO. We're going to have this TP three-point shootout. And we would like you at home to go ahead and project between two. Take a look at these two. And you go ahead and make your bets, place your understanding on who you think is actually going to pull ahead in this. And I want you to be keeping score at home as well. But so if you're watching this, what we want you to do, two things. First off is this. Go ahead and share this video. Go ahead and share this if you've got a high school student, a middle school student, somebody in your life that would benefit from being a part of this discussion and event. What we want you to do is go ahead and share that. And as Clint comes out and does that, I just said it's Clint because I caught myself on my own video. But we want you to go ahead and comment in the comments below what you think the final score will be. We have currently 18 rolls of toilet paper. And we might be going into some overtime stuff. But if you want to take a guess, who do you think is going to pull the best shots out of this? And who do you think will have the high, let's just say you put in the comments who you think will have the highest score.
Definitely going to be Elizabeth.
In this thing. So we're going to get ready. We're going to get started. And so on the count of three, we're going to go, well, Clint, let's show us. Where are you going to start first?
I'm going to start over here.
We're going to start right here.
Yep.
Okay.
And to give Elizabeth a little bit of advantage, I'll stand further back than she has to.
So Clint's going to stand further back. Now, do you guys going to walk up together?
No. She can have a seat or stand behind the goal, whatever, so she doesn't get hit. Yep.
Oh, so we're just timing you.
It's one at a time, yeah.
One at a time. All right. We're going to see what Clint has to do, and Jordan's going to replace our TP as the paper hits the floor. All right. So what's our time?
Let's do a minute and a half.
Minute and a half.
Yep.
Okay. So on your mark, Clint.
Okay.
Get set. Go.
Oh, that was bad. That one was better.
Oh, we've got one bucket. Oh. Clint with two.
Uh-oh.
Nope. Negative. All right, Clint with two so far. Ladies and gentlemen, I have a lot more faith in Elizabeth at this moment.
This one's far away.
Oh, that was nice. Oh, 3, 4. Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
5. Yes, that was a good shot.
This one's difficult.
Oh, that was 6.
There's toilet paper dust all in the
Oh, my goodness. Oh, completely rimmed on that one.
That's it.
All right. What? There's one right there. There's one right there. All right. So if my count's not wrong, I saw 6. Anybody else see something different?
I think that's right.
All right. So with our score officially, we have Clint with 6 shots on this. That means you got 1/3 of.
That's not good.
1/3 of your shots. Like the whole scripture thing where we've all fallen short.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that describes your TP game.
It did.
All right. So we're going to see how. Elizabeth, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. So in just a moment, Elizabeth's come up. She has 18 rolls of toilet paper. Clint got 6 of the 18 shots. If you think, Candace Sampson's go ahead and say 8-2 was her call, by the way. I don't know. We'll find out.
It means respond, Candace. But
what we're going to say is I have faith that Elizabeth's going to pull this out. She just has to get 7 shots. So, no pressure.
No pressure.
On your mark.
It's going to be cool.
As Elizabeth approaches the courts, go.
There's one.
Oh, we got one. We got one. That's 2. Ooh.
Uh-oh. I'm in trouble.
Oh, okay. Here we go. Oh, 3. Oh, my goodness. She's already halfway through, Clint, and she's not even. Oh, never. Wait. Hold on. Adjustment. Oh, no. All right, we're at 3. We're at 3. There's still plenty of hope here. Okay. Now I got to go around the table. Go behind the table. Behind the table.
Oh,
all right.
got to hit the last 3 to win.
Put the buckets in the bucket. Here we go. Oh, my goodness.
That's the ball.
All right, let's just see if you do it. Oh, look at that.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so our final score was 6-4. 6-4 was our final score in numbers for this. So if you're at home, give some love to Elizabeth. Throw some hearts, basketball emojis, whatever her way. If you're proud of Clint for being a giant that can manage to hit 1/3 of toilet paper shots.
Yeah. It's a lot harder than it looks, y'all.
That's a tiny hole there. All right, so with that being said, we're going to wrap this up. So welcome to Fuze TV. We are about to start this is our 4th week?
Yeah, I think so. 4th.
It's our 4th week doing it this way. This is our middle school and high school devotion time online. And so with this time, Clint is going to have Elizabeth as our guest tonight. So anywhere they need to turn in Scripture, anything they need to be prepped for?
They can go ahead and turn to Matthew 20.
Matthew 20. So Clint and Elizabeth, they're going to be discussing Matthew 20, and we're still on prayer?
No, we're talking about serving over selfies.
Ooh, serving over selfies. All right. So with that away, welcome Clint and Elizabeth.
All right. So this is Elizabeth Groves, like he was talking about. Elizabeth,
Hello.
Tell us a little bit about yourself.
Ooh, tell about myself.
Yes.
I am a mom. I'm a wife. I've been with Fuze ever since Fuze Bladen had a campus. So it's been 5 years. Mm-hmm. I remember, I think I met you the first time, Clint, we did a first look. Mm-hmm. So it's been 5 years.
It's been a long time
was
ago.
Was that when it was at the middle school? Or that elementary school?
Well, when we started, Bladen started, we're at Dublin.
Yeah,
Dublin Primary.
Because I think I spoke one night, like my first year.
Mm-hmm.
You did.
They were doing that.
Yeah, so that's probably when I met you the first time, or pretty close to it. So, yeah.
Has that been 5 years ago already?
It's been 5 years.
Yeah, that was 2015.
Yeah, dude.
Wow.
2015. So it's been 5 years. Wow. Hard to believe. Yeah. I mean, we left our previous church in like August of 2014, mm-hmm. and, we were kind of lost because youth ministry was what I was doing there, mm-hmm. and it hurt a lot to leave. And then we thought we had a place God had for us that we were going to go. We visited a couple of times, and Holy Spirit said, no, this is not it for you. So we just decided to be the rebels and go visit Vertical. And so we had promised ourselves we'd visit a place twice before we made a judgment. Yeah. So after the second visit, we said, this is pretty cool. We'll stay to the end of the sermon series. Yeah. And by the end of the sermon series, it's like, guess what? You're home now.
Yeah. Which sermon series was that?
I don't even remember right now. But it was the one, it was fall of 2014. I cannot remember.
Yeah, that was before me.
So by October, we had pretty much made Vertical our home. And within 2 weeks, like I said, my heart had been broken because I'd left kids behind that I love so much, middle schoolers and high schoolers. Guess what? There's an interest meeting because we're starting a campus of Fuze at Bladen, and it was like, okay, this is definitely where I'm supposed to be. But
that was probably one of the toughest things when we switched from being at Bill Sapp to coming here. That was tough, leaving all those kids that were coming,
It's tough. You get attached. I mean, you really do. Yep. I mean,
I got lucky, and one of the kids that was going there right before we left, he is actually working with me now at Chick-fil-A. He's in high school.
That's crazy.
And I saw him walk in. I was like, I know you from somewhere. He's like, yeah, me too, but I feel like I've seen you before.
Yeah.
And, you know, when you have like 75 kids, they're hard to remember everybody's name.
Mm-hmm.
And especially when they're running around and don't, you know, you have a hard time connecting.
Yeah.
But, like, I was like, did you go to Fuze? Like, they all play basketball, Bill Sapp on Wednesday night? He's like, yeah, we used to go out there and play basketball. I was like, do you remember anything else? He's like, nah, not really. I remember we ate a lot. I was like, fair enough.
Well,
fair enough.
There's that.
Yeah.
By the way, Miss Elizabeth, Jacob Clark says hi.
I was just getting ready to talk about you, Jacob, because Clint's story matches up so much with mine and your story, bud. My first foray into student ministry was our previous church, and our previous student pastor decided he was taking high schoolers on a mission trip one summer. So somebody had to do something with those pesky middle schoolers. So Elizabeth got nominated to take a bunch of middle schoolers to Caswell for the week. Jacob Clark was one of those. Boy, you were so annoying that week because you wanted to be up under me all week. And I kept sending them away. I'm like, you're free. You're set free. But, you know, some of those younger middle schoolers had not really been used to being away from home. So they were looking for a mom, and I did not want to be their mom that week. But, yeah, that was the end of his 5th grade year going into 6th grade year. And now he is at Campbell. Mm-hmm. He's been coming to Fuze in Bladen for our first Sundays, helping out with production.
That's awesome.
And he has been such a blessing.
Yeah.
But it's just like you see things coming full circle. That little annoying kid's man now.
Yep, mine's Jordan. Just saying, mine's Jordan. Seeing him grow up. That's
Jordan was in middle school whenever I met him.
Yep.
That's crazy.
Jordan?
Yeah.
Like
Jordan.
Jordan. That's the one that's in
the high school senior Jordan?
Yeah.
Yes, the high school senior
Jordan.
Yep.
Jordan's a fantastic Fuze kid. And just the 5 years I've known him, like from 13 to 18, has been like bananas.
He used to hate me because I used to tell him, dude, be a kid, stop being so grown up.
Exactly. He's been grown up as long as I've known him. Yeah, we're talking about you, boy.
Yep.
But
Is he looking at us?
No, he ain't even sweating us.
No, he's not
just
even
pushing buttons.
Yeah.
By the way, I want to say thank you to our production team and all the volunteers that help make our production time on Sunday nights increasingly better.
Yeah.
Yes.
Increasingly better.
Increasingly better.
Exponentially better each week.
Yes.
Praise God. All right, so is there anything you like to do outside of just like the normal daily routine?
Outside of the normal daily routine, what are the things I like to do? I love puzzles. Mm-hmm. Puzzles are fantastic. I don't read as much as I used to. Most days, I do play games a lot. I mean, I just bought myself a new laptop, and I've been downloading PC games. So, I'm a gamer, right? Yeah. Doesn't that make you a gamer?
Yeah.
I mean, it should.
I don't think you qualify as a gamer until you put as many hours in Animal Crossing as Hector and Jordan have.
I don't think you're going to catch up on that point.
I'm good.
I think I'm at 240 on my Switch. But with that, Rosa and I, what are you at, Jordan? Jordan's checking his Animal Crossing numbers right now.
Yep.
That Rosa and I share a Switch for one island.
Yeah.
So I got to say that at least it's a 70-30 split that, her time at least adds to mine. Oh,
he's only
Jordan's at 80 hours on Animal Crossing.
What? 8 weeks worth of work? 40 hours a week?
Oh, it just came out. It came out March 13th. So it came out like right when all this dropped or whatever.
You spend all your time at.
It was either the week after that or before.
He said it was his birthday. Is that what you said, Jordan? Your birthday?
Oh, yeah, that was then.
Yeah. So what's the first thing that you and your family are going to do when all of this quarantine stuff is over? Like, when everything's back to semi-normal, the new normal, whatever that's going to look like, what are you going to do?
I don't know. See, before quarantine, we didn't eat out at restaurants very much because it's expensive taking 5 grown people. I mean, Colin's only 17, but he's still grown. He has a grown man's appetite. We don't go out a lot because, that's a lot of cash. But that's probably going to be one of the first things we do. It's like we're going to go to San Jose and just make it rain, cheese dip, that sort of thing. Go back to church. So looking forward to that. Being here with you guys tonight has been like, I love you all. Yeah. I'm having to resist the urge to hug
nice
you.
To get out of the
really
house.
am. Those are kind of the big things I want to do. Go out to eat and hug everybody at church.
See people.
Yeah.
We we had to go pick up that basketball goal from Miles in Candace's house today, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I told Danielle, I was like, because she's out of work, she hasn't been doing a whole lot. I was like, why don't you ride with me? You know, it'll be nice for you to get out of the house. And we get there, and I wasn't planning on her and Candace standing out. Well, Danielle was still in the car, but Candace was out in the yard, of course, 6 feet apart still. They talked for like 30 minutes. I was like, you know, we got to go, babe. Like, I'm running late. Like, we got to go. And she's like, oh, okay. It's just nice to see people other than you. I was like,
Yes.
man, how you going to do that to me?
Ego damaged, but hey.
Yeah.
Well, it's we were having a staff meeting the other day, and like we were doing our sermon planning. Brandon was like working through his Ruth sermon that we just heard this morning, and Mr. Al and Miss Teresa showed up to drop off food in the food drop off.
Yeah.
And like me and Panino ran out there, and dude, I'm not kidding, 45 minutes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like we missed almost the whole sermon, and just because the connection is important, and it's nice to actually see somebody, because that's the deal. You know, Zoom stuff is cool.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, it's
things
not
like,
the same.
but it's not the same as like just what it was to experience people in a bulk like that.
Yeah.
That's like the day Jordan and I both helped out and at the Bladen location with the chicken Mount Air chicken sale, and there's a few people from church there, and man, I just wanted to tackle everybody there and hug them, but
and you can't. You're like, hey, how's it going?
But we worked our butts off.
Yeah.
But it was the most satisfying thing to be able to spend 7 hours, you know, working our butts off because we were alongside people again. You know, it's pretty awesome.
I feel you. So we're going to jump into our sermon now, our message. So what we're talking about is called Serving Over Selfies this week. And basically why serving is more important than being selfish, right? So there's a popular recipe that's been around for a while. It's pretty simple. You don't have to be a chef to make it. And this is how you make it. It's an easy recipe. If you want to be miserable, think only about yourself, only about what you want and what you like, and only about what respect people ought to give you. And that's kind of a heavy quote right there.
That cuts.
Yep. So, I mean, if you want to be miserable, all you have to do is think about yourself. You know, there are people out there that are multimillionaires, billionaires that are just miserable people because all they do is care about themselves, right? Mm-hmm. So what we're talking about tonight is how not to be miserable, pretty much. So there was a study done in England of over 1,000 16-year-olds and what they wanted to be when they grew up. Over half of these 16-year-olds said they wanted to be a celebrity when they grow up. But they didn't want to be actors. They didn't want to be authors, activists, musicians. They just wanted to be famous for being famous. They didn't want to develop any kind of skills to be famous. And we see that with being like TikTok famous or Vine famous or all that kind of stuff, right?
Vine, really?
Yeah, Vine famous. I grew up with Vine famous.
Vine is like VHS at this point.
Yeah.
Yes, it is.
But I mean, they're still out there.
Beta.
Those Vine people are now on TikTok. You know, they're back at it on TikTok.
They're just importing Vines over to TikTok, putting a special effect on it and making it like it's new.
So all these people who want to be famous just want to get there as fast as they can without doing anything, with doing as little as they can. So I found this story. A guy is driving about 112 down the road in Georgia. The officer who stopped him for speeding asked the guy where he was going in such a hurry. The guy replied, "Nowhere. I was doing it for a Snapchat video." Like, how crazy is that? Going 112 just for a Snapchat video that you can't even share. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me. So why do we have this desire to be famous? What's the desire behind this? Psychology tells us that people have always wanted to be famous, and it comes from their desire to be seen, heard, and respected. And it turns out that people who don't feel seen, don't feel heard, and don't feel respected at home or at school are the people who are most likely to say their number one goals are to be famous. Mm-hmm. So parents, that's a big cut for you. Like, you know, for your kids to grow up to be productive members of society, they need to feel heard, respected, and seen. Right?
One more time. What's that?
Huh?
What's that? One more time.
To be seen, heard, and respected. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So that's a big thing. So
one of the things too that I've seen, just because I've only been on TikTok since like the quarantine started.
yeah,
Because that's the deal. When you're over 30 and you start a social media, you're basically killing it for the younger generation.
yeah,
So
Yes.
bringing down TikTok one stupid video of mine at a time, and but that's the deal. If you watch the amount of time and effort these folks put into
It's crazy.
making some videos, like I've seen TikTok videos today that they worked on harder than I worked on all of high school.
Yeah.
Like they put more work into, like, there's behind the scenes videos of making their TikTok videos, and I'm like, if you apply that level of effort
to anything.
to anything, you're gonna because I'm telling you, man, people are putting time and dollars and money into these videos,
Yeah.
and and that's the thing, like we want to be valued, we want worth, and
Yeah,
we think that's a way to get it.
yeah,
And it's all about those likes,
yep. It's all about the likes or the retweets or
Yeah.
the shares,
You
right?
can't retweet on TikTok.
No, you can't. But you can
I'm
retweet on Twitter.
45 years old, and I know
big
that,
thing.
Clint.
Yeah, I know, but like you can retweet on Twitter, and that's a big thing too. People want to get retweeted, right?
Yep.
So
Sure.
yeah, so the desire to be seen, heard, and respected has been around a long time before social media ever came up, right?
Mm-hmm.
But unfortunately, the trend for selfies is growing, right? So in 2013, Oxford Dictionary tagged Generation Z as the selfie generation. And as of right now, Instagram has over 53 million photos tagged with hashtag selfie. 53 million photos. That's a lot. But if we go back before there was Instagram, people still wanted to be noticed and respected. In fact, that's exactly what's going to go on in the episode we're talking about today in the Bible. So here's the scene, y'all. Jesus and his close followers were walking along the road to Jerusalem. Jesus had told them that when they get to Jerusalem, things were going to get bad for him. He would call out the religious leaders in the city for being hypocrites, and he would be killed for it. It was not going to be pretty, and it was going to be a somber message for what was about to happen. Two of his followers, brothers named James and John, didn't pay any attention to that part of the message. If you have a brother or a sister, you might know what that's like, right? Like, I don't have any, but I've got friends that are kind of like that sometimes. So there's probably been a time when you couldn't hear something important that was being said because you or your brother or your sister were arguing about something else. So maybe that was what's going on here, but for whatever reason, Jesus told them that what would happen to him in Jerusalem, they thought Jesus was going to take over as the new guy in charge. So they had their mom to help them out and ask Jesus for a favor. Have you ever done anything like that? Ask your parents for help, right? Have you done that? Yeah. So we want you to get your mom and dad involved. Ask them a question that you don't want to ask for yourself, right? So in Matthew, we're going to be in Matthew 20. Go to verse 21. Their mom went to Jesus and said, "In your kingdom, please let my two sons sit in places of honor next to you, one on your right and the other on your left." So it's clear they were only looking out for themselves in this point. Like they wanted to be lifted up and be put in general, right?
Well, it was either that they wanted to be
Yeah,
done that or their mom.
Yeah.
Because realistically,
which is totally
you
possible.
got to think about it. These dudes are walking around with Jesus every day.
Yeah,
And, think about how awkward that is. Your mom rolls up, "Jesus, come here. Let my boys be first. Let my boys." I mean, like, legit. Anytime your parent rolls up and tries to get you a special attention, that's
Yeah.
just embarrassing. I can't see these dudes sicking their mom on the Messiah. But I can see their mom trying to,
yeah.
because, as much as flip the whole psychology of everything around, as much as our generation or my generation and down tries to get attention through that stuff, parents oftentimes try to live vicariously and get attention through the success of their kids.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So if the parent can't achieve something, they achieve it by pushing their kid up there. So that mom was trying to get credit because I'm the mother of Jesus' sidekicks, and it's that prestigious thing with that.
Yeah, that's true. Definitely.
That's been happening for a long time, though. I mean, I remember when I was in high school, I knew someone that this particular person's mother was the one that was determined that their child was going to be top of everything, up to the point of having their child withdrawn from classes and different things like that, and you know, just to preserve that GPA.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, but at the same time, I never looked at my classmate. You know, I felt heaviness for this person. I felt sadness because I know what that person's goals were, and I know what kind of pressure that person had. But yeah, it's been happening for a long time.
I feel you. So Jesus heard this mom ask this question, and he goes, "Hey, y'all come together." So here's what he said. He's
Hey,
like,
y'all.
hey,
Conference room right now.
y'all, we got to get together. We got to talk about this. So he says, you know that rulers in this world lord it over their people, and officials flaunt their authority over those under them. So he's saying, you know how it's been done, right, guys? People with their power abuse their power. People with their authority abuse their authority, and leaders are going to oppress leaders. And then he goes, but among you it'll be different. Whoever wants to be a leader among you must be your servant, and whoever wants to be first among you must become your slave. Now, he's not literally saying slave, like you're not going to get anything out of this work, right? But what he's saying is, if I want to be a leader, if somebody needs something, I should do it, go above and beyond to do it, right? Yeah. So, like, right now, we're in this whole pandemic, epidemic, whatever it is. We should still be serving others somehow we can. Like, if you're like Elizabeth and our church did the Mount Air Farm thing. When was that, like last week, 2 weeks ago now?
Yeah, a week and a half.
Yeah, we can still be serving even at a socially distanced acceptable range,
But there's the conflict with that, of the fact that, even when you're serving in that, there's the desire or the temptation to straight up draw attention to yourself and what you're doing. This is, we literally, because we were doing the gift card thing. Where we were trying to raise money and partner to bless our first responders. Yeah. And, I brought it up in our staff meeting on Tuesday, like, however we do this, please let's be cautious.
Right.
Because I understand we want to share how faithful God has been in this, but if we make this in any way look like we're trying to make it about us, we take it away from Jesus.
Right.
That Bob Goff quote you posted the other day, that was just perfect.
Bob Goff, he skewers hearts a lot.
Huh?
He skewers hearts often.
Bob Goff will stab you in the throat and hug you.
And love you through every minute of your pain. Exactly.
And then Jesus goes on to say something like this: for even the Son of Man came not to be served, but to serve others and to give his life as a ransom for many. So not only did he say this, but later that week he backed it up. He died, rose again. So when we are out serving, we can't do like what Hector was saying and have it be about us. It's got to be about what Jesus is doing. We can't make it all about us, right? Like, don't go out posting selfies about you doing work. Like, there's one thing to say, hey, look at this awesome thing that is happening here, against, hey, look at what this awesome thing that I'm doing. Like, there's a difference between that. And I think that's a major part of what we've lost as American society. It's all about what I can get out of it. Even if I'm serving somebody, what can I do? Like, there's a meme I've been seeing where somebody was giving a homeless person money, but it was on Facebook Live. Like, and that's not what that's about. Don't let your left hand know what your right hand's doing. That's a big saying. What it really means is, don't let other people know what kind of stuff you're doing. Like, just go about it and be a servant. So James and John wanted the fame of leaderships. They wanted to be seen. They wanted to be heard. But Jesus changed the game. He reminded them that they didn't need to be famous in other people's eyes because they were already famous in God's eyes. So when we become Christians, we're famous. When we are saved, there's a big party in heaven. Like, they celebrate and all this stuff. And we're famous even before that, Like, that's a big thing. Like, God created us from the moment, like, time began. He knew about us. And that's amazing. Like, We don't have to be famous for society. We can be famous for the one that created us. So here's the bottom line, guys. Serving breaks the power of selfishness. So Rodney Stark, he's a sociologist. He wrote a book called The Rise of Christianity. And in this book, he makes a case for why the early church was such a profound success, why it spread so rapidly. And in this, he talks about a man named Dionysius. He was a church leader in the city of Alexandria. And after an epidemic that had killed many, many people, kind of like what we're dealing with now, a pandemic, an epidemic we're dealing with, Dionysius wrote to the Christians that were serving, and he says this: most of our fellow Christians showed unbounded love and loyalty, never sparing themselves, heedless of danger. They took care of the sick and attended to their every need and ministering to them in Christ. So I want to challenge you, make serving others your priority. There's needs and opportunities everywhere, whether they're at the house, whether they're, across the street in a neighbor's yard. Make serving others a priority. You don't have to get out and go, serve in a food line or serve, wherever. You can serve there at your house and serve your parents, serve your neighbors, serve your neighborhood. You can do all of this. So one more time, here's the bottom line of the message. If you remember anything else, I want you to remember this. Serving is what breaks the power of selfishness in our lives. You guys have anything you want to add real quick before I pray?
Well, there's I'm never really a fashionable person.
Yes, we know.
It's not my deal. But I like hats a lot. And,
Yeah.
Right when this was all starting, I bought a new hat, and I was like, oh, I can't wait to wear this on Sunday. At least show my friends in the lobby or whatever. Check my hat. But I got this hat that says "Famous Enough."
Yeah.
And the thing is, on the back side of the hat, it says "Known by God," and the whole concept is if you're known by God, you're famous enough.
Right.
Some of my friends that aren't believers, or don't have share that same mindset, saw my hat and they're like, "Well, yeah, you are pretty famous." And I'm like, "No, what? No,
You missed
Not
the
that kind of
point.
that's not the point. That's not what I was saying." But that's the thing is if we truly believe we're known by God's eyes, that should be the only acclaim we need. And there's this one verse in Galatians 1:10, and I know it won't be up there, but Galatians 1:10 says, "Am I now trying to win the approval of human beings or of God? Or am I trying to please people? If I were still trying to please people, I would not be a servant of Christ." And the bottom line boils down to, if we're trying to get the fame or the approval of others, we can't get the approval of God at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's just something we kind of have to die to. And, when we're talking, even as pastors, there's this lure and this temptation, even when you have platforms like this of churches, on Sunday morning, we have more people watching our services now, than we did, on regular Sundays before we were live streaming.
Yeah.
But that's I saw a pastor say, your numbers might be increasing, but that doesn't mean growth. That just means swelling.
Right.
Yeah.
And if all we're doing is getting more people to watch certain things, but we're not actually serving and doing the things we're doing, that's not really growth.
Right.
That's just metrics and stuff like that. And at the end of the day, when we put our time and effort into being TikTok famous, or here's the deal: I'm not bashing TikTok on that capacity,
Right.
Because low key I check my numbers, and I'm like, oh,
Everybody checks numbers.
my
on
numbers are
social
pitiful
media
on
though.
TikTok. But it's just one of those things of at one point in time, November, my book site for Faith and Fandom got more likes than Vertical Church, and I'm like,
Ooh.
and I'm like, I low key was like, hey Brandon. It was like there was no point in me saying that.
Yeah.
There was nothing that honored God in that was just low key my flesh,
Yeah.
and there's any time we try to point the spotlight to ourselves, we take it away from God.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
That's
a
so
deep
true.
one. Yeah.
That is so true.
Elizabeth, you got anything you wanted to add?
No, I think that pretty much said everything. I think serving has brought me, I know serving breaks us out of selfishness, but serving also breaks me out of any kind of entitlement. You know, any kind of entitlement. And it's where I have grown the most.
Right.
I think when you're absorbed into self, it's like you said, swelling versus growing. I mean, serving is when I've grown.
Right.
That's just bottom line. You know, when, for me, I'm not going to go out and threaten you all if you don't go serve right now. But for me, when I haven't served is when I have slipped. I mean, just absolutely slipped. So that's been the case ever since I gave my life to Christ.
I can get behind that. All right, so we're going to pray, and then we're going to jump into our small group questions. So let's pray real quick. Dear Lord, thank you for today. Thank you for allowing us to be here and to learn about you, Lord. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to serve others so that we can grow personally. Lord, just help us remember that when we serve, that it's not about us, that it's about you, Lord. Just give us a good time of small group questions and discussion, Lord. In your name we pray. Amen.
All right, real quick before Clint jumps into the small group questions, just want to remind you and let you know that the questions that he's going to bring up to Elizabeth and to us here, we would love for you to answer online. We would love for you to answer in the comments. So if you're watching this on YouTube or if you're watching this on Facebook, wherever you're watching this, go ahead and when Clint poses questions, drop your answers in there. And, you know, there's a little bit of time delay between you typing and us seeing it, but we'll be glad to share your answers if you'd like to share us with them. So,
all right. So what did you want to be when you were a teenager, when you grew up? What did you want to be?
When I was a teenager. You're going to get a kick out of this.
All right.
I was fairly smart in school. Shocker. So I had a lot of options as far as scholarships, as far as, you know, going places and, you know, what I wanted to do with my career. And I was really into music, you know, really into... You know, I was a flute player, and I was deep into that. And, you know, I did all county and all district and all state and, you know, all this other kind of stuff. Yeah. So, you know, music education crossed my mind. The other choice was aerospace engineering.
Oh, wow.
Yes. And that's really the one I settled on pretty heavy. I told you earlier beforehand when we were talking about model rockets. Dude, that was my life. I was into that sort of stuff. I mean, it was just great.
Yeah.
And my senior year, I kind of had this weird nudge in another direction that I didn't understand where it was coming from. I didn't know Jesus then, by the way. I realize now where that nudge came from, but that I might be interested in working with young children.
Yeah.
It was crazy because I'd been babysitting some through high school, but, you know, other than that, there was no reason for me to have gone that route. So I did aerospace engineering. Yeah. And I went to NC State. I had pretty much a full ride to NC State and found out, yes, I see you, Mike P. So I had a full ride, and I went for 2 semesters and was absolutely miserable.
Yeah.
Absolutely miserable. I was not doing what I was supposed to be doing, and I knew it. So I came home, and guess what I did? I decided early childhood was going to be what I did. But that was not even on my radar for the longest time.
Funny how God works even before we know him, huh?
Amen.
How about you, Hector? What did you want to be when you grew up?
Like when I was a teenager specifically?
Yeah. Like 12, we'll do like 12 to 17, that good age, yeah.
12 to 17, definitely, it was 2 things. I went into my teenage years, like early teens, wanting to be a teacher. Specifically, I wanted to teach 3rd grade.
That's real specific.
Yes, it is specific.
Because I just had a really dope 3rd grade teacher.
Yeah.
And Miss King, shout out Miss King. Miss King's the jam. Miss King was a really great 3rd grade teacher, and she was the first teacher that made me feel loved.
Yeah.
And like I grew exponentially that year, and I wanted to be a 3rd grade teacher. And then around 15, I started doing theater.
Yeah.
And so then that switched. That I wanted to do. I wanted to do professional theater. I got to do one professional show, like a pro show, but it got canceled like within like the first week of production.
Oh.
And you know, it was cool, but I was still in high school, so it wasn't like the end of my life. But then like so I was pretty sure I was going to do professional theater, and then Right around 17, God just got a hold of my heart and told me, "You're going into full time ministry." And like, I actually wrote my senior paper in high school that I was going to be a nonprofit missionary, and they failed me on my paper because they said this isn't a real job. And
well,
because you don't actually make money and you live off of donations and you're just telling Bible stories, and like they straight gave me a big hardcore F.
Wow.
Because like that's not real.
Yeah.
Yeah, nonprofits don't count either.
Yeah.
Share a couple things real quick. Answers. Candace Sampson wanted to be an orthodontist until she found out she had to go to school for 10 years.
Yeah.
I feel you, 10 years is a super long time.
That'll change your mind.
Right? John Robert Kraft, our boy John, he wanted to be a Marine.
Hey,
And
I guess his wishes come true, huh?
Yeah. Close. Yeah, he's in there, right?
Yeah.
Yep. And then Erin, your daughter, also wanted to be a teacher as well.
Yeah,
So
she did.
Yeah. I think I wanted to be like a baseball player growing up. Like from like 12 to 15, like a hardcore baseball player. And then 15 to 17, I wanted to be a social studies teacher. Like and I can see where God was doing that at. Like when he got a hold of me, he's like, "Hey, this is what I want you to do." Even though that didn't work out, I can see what he was doing with it,
I still haven't figured out how teaching and engineering were two things that were working in my life at the same time. That's kind of drastic, But like I said, I ended up following the path that I needed to be on.
I agree. Because we're graced with your presence today.
That's right.
All right, so have you ever met anyone famous?
Hector, you don't have to answer that.
Hector doesn't get the
You're out of this discussion. Actually, you need to handle this discussion because I honestly don't think I have met a single person that's famous. I really don't. I mean, unless you consider like casual autograph at a concert or something like that. I mean, that's happened, and I couldn't even tell you how many times that's happened. But no, I haven't been chilling with any famous homies or homettes.
what about you, Clint?
Okay, I'll go. I remember when
He's licking his chops.
When I
Okay.
was real little, I met Richard Petty for those NASCAR.
That's a big
fans.
deal
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah, that was that was a big deal. And like hanging out with him, and then my senior year, I actually took batting practice with Josh Hamilton, which was pretty cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Who's that?
That's really
Sorry.
cool.
Josh Hamilton, he was the number 1 overall pick in the 1999 MLB draft.
Doesn't he have an I Am Second video
He
as
does.
well?
He
Okay,
does.
that's what
And,
I thought.
He got hooked on drugs
Yeah.
when he was in the minors, and then quit baseball. And the year he was coming back is the year this actually happened. So he's like getting ready to go to the pros and all this stuff. And then the next year is the year he broke the home run record during the All-Star game.
That's awesome.
So yeah, I was like, he walked in the door, I was like, oh my God, that's Josh Hamilton. Like I was just
That's
like,
so cool.
but I've met like others like signing autographs and stuff
Yeah.
like that, but
I did forget.
Never
I did
like-
forget one. Probably the most recent famous person I've met is I got to meet David Crowder,
oh yeah,
and he's really tall, y'all.
yeah.
He is
I'm
tall and
really
lanky.
short, and he is really tall. I'm not talking like 6'5", 6'6", something like that. He's really tall.
Didn't
David,
realize
if
he
you're
was
watching
tall.
that, what's up?
He's a big one.
Definitely.
Your daughter was just about to chime in and say you forgot David Crowder.
I forgot. See,
I
thank
forgot
you, kid.
one.
Good.
Hector Mirai.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah, exactly. I mean, we're sharing a stage with a legend.
Right. He's almost famous.
Almost famous,
Mhm.
which is my favorite movie.
Exactly.
Candace Sampson has met Cowboy Cerrone.
Yeah, UFC fighter.
Am I saying that? Okay. cool.
Cerrone
Cerrone
something like
in a
that.
hotel lobby. So
Yeah.
she met him.
Yeah, that one doesn't count because Miles was fighting at his fight. We don't count
That
that one.
totally counts.
Mm.
It does count.
But for me, like, and that's the thing, like, there's the line that I don't really count because literally it's a profession thing
Yeah.
where it's basically my side job to be in a place with famous
With
people.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that kind of like, it kind of cuts
Yeah.
it off. But like I've had some really good interactions, like that weren't just here. I'm paying you $30. Here's where I'll draw the line. If I had to pay for it,
Right.
I'm not going to count it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So a couple good interactions with that. Data from Star Trek
Okay.
came up to my booth and said, "This is amazing," and took a picture of my booth. So that's cool.
You get to count that one.
I get to count that
Totally
one.
get to count that one. Brent Spiner at your booth. Heck yeah.
Brent Spiner and Candace said also.
See, I remembered his name.
Zachary Levi, who plays Chuck and Shazam and Flynn Rider.
Yeah.
I went to go pay to him to sign a thing, but we actually got to talk, and I got to give him a Bible study, and we talked a little bit. That was some good ones. I've met like everybody in Doctor Who and had conversations, and then Summer Glau, who's from Arrow and Terminator, Firefly, stuff like that. I also got to give her Bible studies. So like Bible studies have always been like with Faith and Fandom have always been my like window to meeting famous people. You know, it's just like one of those things. Like I can on any given weekend, I can walk by and see almost the whole cast of Guardians of the Galaxy, or like I ran into William Shatner in a bathroom, or like I'm like in line with.
There's a joke in there somewhere.
Well, that was the thing. Like my first big famous people Comic-Con, I walked into a bathroom in Raleigh and William Shatner high-fived me. And I'm like,
hope you washed this.
That was my first thought. Was like my first thought wasn't I just high-fived Captain Kirk. It was like, man, I hope you washed your hands. But like it's that thing of like, she said it was before the fight. With that.
Okay, fair enough.
But that's the thing. Like with there comes a point if you're around famous people, it stops being fun. It's not like literally the last show I did was the last big one was in February. It was in Virginia, and there was a metric ton of famous people at this thing, and I cared not to meet like any of them. Like
your celebrity shot goes away after a while, right?
It does go away, and it's just like, do you matter enough to me to do it? The only dude I went to go meet was the guy who plays Jerry on The Walking Dead. He's also the dad on Shazam.
Yeah, he's great.
I feel like we kind of have some similarities.
A lot of similarities.
And I started wearing a bowler hat because he wears a bowler hat to cons, and I had him sign my bowler hat. And so we talked for a little bit.
Did you wear that next week?
It's hot, bro. It's like a little sweaty up here. I'll wear my bowler hat. It actually says rock the scarf on the side of it because he usually wears a scarf around his. I was like, I'm not as cool as you. I can't wear a giant gypsy scarf. And so he signed it rock the scarf. But yeah, there's famous people are people.
Yeah.
They just have had better opportunities or done better with their opportunities.
Yeah.
I feel. So why do you think people have the desire to be seen, heard, and respected? And do you think that desire is wrong?
I don't think it's wrong. I think when it's taken to the extreme. I mean, you can ask my family. I'm a human rights kind of person. Basic human rights are, there's this thing in that I've studied in early childhood, other fields study it as well, and Maslow, hierarchy of needs is what it's called. And one of our basic needs is security. And you work your way up this triangle until self-worth, self-actualization's at the top. And these things are part of that hierarchy of needs, that we do have those basic needs as a human. You want to see it go bad, spend time around a child that's been abused, or an adult. You can see where it goes wrong. So I do think it's a basic human need to be seen, heard, and respected. And when that doesn't happen, a myriad of things that we call mental illness these days can happen. When it goes to the extreme, it's a problem. That's where you get people begging for views on TikTok. But I don't think it's wrong.
Yeah, I can agree with that. How about you, Hector?
I think we all want purpose. We all want love. We all want to feel valued and like we matter. And that's one of those things we have migrated to an instant gratification culture. Of where, usually relationships take time to build up to where we feel loved and respected and that. And now we're willing to take like a sip of it from a little bit of things, and that's, I don't think it's a wrong desire at all. I think it's in us that we want to be loved and we want to be valued. But if we believe that these things are actually going to satisfy us, we're hurting ourselves. We're lying to ourselves because then we're substituting something where we can actually find value for a cheap knockoff. That's like if you're hungry and you choose to lick an advertisement of a hamburger instead of eating a hamburger.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like a good hamburger, not a McDonald's hamburger, but like a good hamburger.
But if you
Yeah,
just see
good
like a
Red
if you see
Robin.
like the
Robin.
menu,
yeah.
that's like licking a menu at Waffle House instead of eating it.
Well, I wouldn't suggest
That's a
licking
bad
menus
life choice.
at Waffle
And-
House ever. Quarantine, I mean,
It'll be
coronavirus or
clean
not.
like
Please,
the first like 3 hours.
please
maybe.
don't lick a menu.
that.
Please,
Maybe
kids,
30
do
seconds.
not lick a menu
But-
at Waffle House.
But but living for the approval of stuff you get online, you know,
Yeah.
I think it was Lecrae that said it. Panino, I don't know if you remember this. If you live for approval, you'll die from rejection.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Is that right? Yep. Lecrae said that if you live for approval, you'll die from rejection. And Lecrae had this whole deal like about a year and a half ago where he had a whole mental breakdown.
Yeah.
Mm.
Dealing with similarities with that. Candace actually says she and Miles are doing a study on James, and this is what James chapter 2 was talking about last night. So if you want some supplemental reading, Miles and Candace suggest James chapter 2.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
I think for me is people want to matter. You know,
Yeah.
like they want to feel like they've changed or they're changing the world for good, even if it's one person. And when they don't get that, I think that's when they go to want to be the TikTok famous, the instant famous, you know. And I don't think it's a bad thing to want to matter. Like you're going to matter to people, and I think you just have to realize that there are people out there that you matter to, and instead of pushing them aside, we should really embrace those people that we matter to. You know, like, and I think that would help us from the increase in the instant gratification thing. You know, like, you know, my grandparents grew up. If they wanted mashed potatoes, they had to peel the mashed potatoes or peel the potatoes, boil
You had to
them,
grow the potatoes a lot of
Yeah.
times.
peel them, cook them, mash them, butter, salt, and pepper. And now you can go to the store and buy 99-cent pack and add water, and you're done. You know, and I think that is a big reason why when people don't show us that we matter to them, we'll move off to the TikTok
Yeah.
famous kind of thing.
And I think it goes back to that thing that we talk about so much in church circles. We all have a God-shaped hole. You know, we want to be seen, heard, and respected. You know, those are the things we get from God.
Yeah.
And we'll try to stuff a lot of things in that spot that just don't fit.
I agree.
Never will fit.
I agree. So question 4 is, Jesus told his followers that he would encounter trouble and be killed in Jerusalem, but many of them still didn't understand. Why do you think they didn't get it?
Hold on 1 second. I wanted to throw one of our YouTube comments in because I was checking YouTube. Dan Geyser said that he wanted to be a stuntman.
Oh, yes.
Wow.
And he also met Adam West, Batman.
Ooh, that
That's
is
neat.
cool.
That's probably the coolest one so far.
That's
right?
probably
Yeah.
the coolest
Yeah.
one so far.
Exactly.
All right, so repeat your question.
Jesus told his followers that he would encounter trouble and be killed while in Jerusalem, but many of them still didn't understand. Why do you think that they didn't get it? They didn't understand why he would be killed or all what he was saying.
I think they didn't want to get it.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they've been kicking it with Jesus for, 3 years. You know, they've been kicking it with him, and they've seen some crazy stuff go down, and Jesus told them time after time. Jesus did a fantastic job of trying to prepare them for what was coming. And they just couldn't accept it. And I think it was literally just they had no concept. Even with, we can look back, because we have the complete revelation with the Bible's complete. They didn't have it back then. They had Jesus. We didn't have Jesus. We don't have him in the flesh with us walking and teaching and everything. But, even they couldn't completely connect the dots because the fullness, of the revelation hadn't happened. And I just think that they didn't want to give up the fact that they had him there with them, and it was a show. I mean, it really, if you think about it, Jesus wasn't doing it for show, not by any means, but it was a show, and they had front row seats.
Yeah.
I mean, so why would you want to believe? Why would you want to believe
that
you got to give up all that?
It's like, the same thing of, okay, the one thing is this hits hard with me. During a season when I was a missionary at Camp Grace, I had some friends and family that were part of Dillon Christian School's football team.
Mm-hmm.
And one of my friends, Dustin Williams, I don't remember what position he played, but he ran around a lot. And he got the ball and ran, and that was important. And Bobby Williams, who was like my mentor and father figure for many years, worked kind of helping with this. So I spent a lot of Friday nights at the football games.
Mm-hmm.
Well, they had made it to a championship a time or two, and they made it to the final game and lost. And everybody was heartbroken.
Yeah.
Everybody was crushed. And I just remember the coach coming out, and the coach walked out and he said, "Listen, we will get back here. Next year, it won't be then. Y'all that are in the next class, it won't be then either. But in 3 years, we'll be back here." And he straight up told,
Prophecy, huh?
he straight up told the next two classes, "You will not make playoffs, but the class after you will." And I just the stunned silence in that crowd was like, what just happened? And nobody wanted to believe that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And sure enough, it took 2 years for them to make it back.
Yeah.
Man was a prophet.
But that's the thing. It's just like when you're told that things are going to go badly,
Yeah.
you want to ignore it.
Yeah.
When we were preparing for Hurricane Florence, we had all of the people saying, "Yeah, it's totally going to hit here," and like everybody's like, "No, nothing's going to happen.
I mean,
We're
some
going to be fine."
awesome predicting going on there. They did such a spot on job. It's crazy if you see the maps afterwards on how scarily accurate they were on their forecast with Florence. And you're right. It's like, no, it's not going to happen here.
Nobody wants to believe that because
Yeah.
It's going to go out to sea.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
which is how terrible movies get made.
yeah.
Yeah.
Because if you honestly listen to sales pitches, or you believe the stuff where people say, "Hey guys, our feedback is bad on this. I don't think this is going to be a big success." You're like, "Nah, we'll put it out. People will definitely watch this." And then you go to a movie and you're like, "Who let this happen?
Right.
Who thought this was a good idea?" Honestly, I think of the Sonic the Hedgehog thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Who let that design make it to production?
Right.
Exactly.
Or Green Lantern.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. Yeah. But that's the thing. It's we don't want to believe, the hard statements. We'd rather ignore the hard stuff and just look at the positives.
I think for me, they were so comfortable with what was going on. I think they were so comfortable that they didn't want things to change, and they didn't grasp why it was going to happen. They couldn't connect the dots like you were saying. But mine would be comfort. They didn't want to have to change what they were doing.
Yeah.
I mean, that's why God had to force them out of Jerusalem in the book of Acts. They were just comfortable. And it shows throughout their whole, the next, 4 or 5 years after that, depending on how long the timeline is.
And then you got Peter saying, "I'll die for you. You're not
Right.
going to die." Yeah, yeah. Come on,
Right.
Peter. Calm down with all that.
So why do you think Jesus wants his followers to serve?
Because that's who he is.
Mm-hmm.
That you have this desire for your followers or your children or whoever else to be not only like you, to be better than you.
Yeah.
And that's why I think he had to strip down to the whole let's go down to just on our knees, washing feet, and doing that kind of thing. Because you got to think, Jesus had the most viral following in the world without social media.
Right.
He had thousands of people literally following him where he went. But then when his crucifixion came, he had 3 people at the cross.
Right.
That those other fame people, that was licking a Waffle House menu.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Those people didn't stick around. They didn't follow through. That actual fame doesn't matter because at the end of the day, all that noise is going to die. And, those people aren't going to be able to give you worth or value or fill that hole in you when your soul is empty.
Right.
And, he's like, this is where it's at. You are in communion with God when you serve.
That's my answer
Mm-hmm.
too. Is you are the most like your Savior when you serve. I
Yeah.
mean, that's just it. And that's the point of this thing, is to grow more Christ-like.
Yeah.
You know, that's this big long word called sanctification, boys and girls. Is that it's a continual act, and that's we continue to look more and more like Him, and that's one of the ways that it happens.
Yeah.
Is
I agree. So, how did Jesus model being a servant to others?
just what Hector said. That
Yeah.
scene
Sorry.
that
Okay.
scene in the upper room. You want to talk about a scene in God's Word that just has brought me to tears. Is thinking about my Savior, within hours before His excruciating death, taking his shirt off, getting down on his knees, and washing some feet. Not only just washing some feet, but washing Judas's feet too.
Yeah.
And
I don't know if you guys have ever been to a foot washing thing like at a church, but my grandpa's church used to do it at least once a quarter, and that's powerful to me. Like, to think about, they washed their spouse's feet, at that, but Jesus washed the person that was going to betray him's feet. That's wild to me.
Yeah, like I said, you want to get me weepy,
Yeah.
thinking about that.
So, why does serving break the power of selfishness in our lives?
Well, I think we're limited capacity beings, and I mean, sometimes this old expression, "garbage in, garbage out." I think that we have a lot less time to focus on ourselves, and we're having to focus on other people. I mean, it's just a time issue in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
It's a time and energy thing. It breaks us out of that cycle of me, me, me. Yeah, I mean, like I said. And therefore, what I said about the fact that when I'm serving, I'm growing, that's part of it, that's part of the way that you grow, is you do begin to prioritize yourself a lot less. Don's here tonight back in production, and, he went on a mission trip to Moldova, and we were loading down suitcases before we sent him off. I mean, we were weighing suitcases to make sure we stayed under the 50-pound limit, and they were taking just suitcases and suitcases and suitcases of things with him, and he had his own suitcase with his own clothing and stuff like that. And when I picked that man up that night, he came home. He literally had a little backpack. He didn't even came home in a pair of the ugliest Crocs you've ever seen in your life.
They make not ugly ones.
Well, these were.
By the way, shout out to Crocs for donating shoes to all of our medical community.
They're
You're
hideous,
fantastic.
but you're on it. They're very comfortable. They are very comfortable. But he came home in these, like I said, they're terrible looking Crocs, and he's looking pretty thrown away whenever I pick him up. And what he intended to leave some of the suitcases there, but he literally was given the shirt off his back.
Yeah.
To people who had nothing. Moldova is still reeling from communist control, and just to see that, he, like I said, he didn't even come home with his tennis shoes, his dress shoes, none of that. He came home in them ugly Crocs, but he was so broken over that. He wasn't thinking about himself.
I agree. I get that.
Repeat your question.
Why does serving break the power of selfishness in our lives? So, for me, it's more or less along the lines of, when I serve, I'm becoming more Christ-like, And as I become more Christ-like, the more things that I don't need fall away, Like, the things that, like you said, you take 5 or 6 suitcases over there, and then as you get over wherever and you're serving, you see that you don't need this anymore.
Yeah.
I think it's the same way, like, the burdens that we carry, like, you serve, you see that this burden is just kind of like, hey, you don't need to drop it. I think it's releasing, like, to serve too. Like it just gets rid of all of these negative things in your life, and you can get rid of that mindset for a moment when you're serving others.
What's like Philippians 2, 3, and 4, like around that bubble that's like, don't do things for yourself, but esteem others as more valuable than yourself.
Yep.
That literally we're told that we need to treat every other person with humility in our hearts, like they are more important than us. Yeah. And that if everybody is treating everybody else like they're more important, we all build each other up.
Right.
It's when everybody is treating each other like they're less important, that all we do is tear each other and ourselves down.
Yeah.
Candace responded with, because we are also called to serve those who may not be comfortable with or people we like. People we may not be comfortable with or people we like. We're called to serve everybody.
Yeah. And that's tough, having to serve somebody you don't care for. Like I said, Jesus washing Judas's feet, I think I've had to do that a couple of times in my life. Nowhere, I'm not comparing my experience at all, but I felt like that a few times.
I guess. So last question, and I'm not going to have anybody answer up here, but I want you guys to leave it in the comments. Like, I just want to read what you guys think that would be good for you. So, what is one thing you can do this week to serve someone else? And I want you guys to really think about that and send it in the comments. We'll read it even if it's not live anymore. Just let us know what you can do this week, and send us screenshots or Snapchats or Instagram pictures of you guys actually,
or retweet some TikToks.
Yeah, retweets and TikToks, whatever. Just send us stuff showing us what you guys are doing, so we know what y'all are doing and what kind of things are being done, and how we can applaud that you guys are going out there and doing things for others. But that's it for this week. I want to thank Hector, my MC, and my special guest, Elizabeth Groves, and also our production team, who is fearlessly behind the scenes. The scenes and the screens. The scenes and the screens.
That's the name of an emo band album from 2000 that never came out. I'm just joking. I don't know that, but I'm just saying that.
I wish it would be.
The scenes and the screens. Yeah. That's actually going to be our production team's emo album release. You can look for it in September.
Okay.
Yes. We're getting the matching skinny jeans.
Yeah. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. We'll see you next week. Have a good week, y'all.
Good night, Fuze TV.
Peace out.